Hey everybody, it's Mr. Anderson here one more time with section 714 out of our CPM Common Core Algebra ebook. And today our job is to answer the question, hey, what if we don't see growth? And we're going to start to talk about exponential decay. To learn more about exponents, today we're going to study new situations in which exponential functions decay or decrease. This will lead to studying negative exponents. So we know a little bit about negative exponents already, and we're going to talk about decay today and hopefully make a connection. Normally, if we were in class and we had the opportunity to do this, we'd be doing something called the penny lab. The penny lab is really pretty fun. Every table gets 100 pennies, and your job is to shake them up and dump them out. And then remove, let's see, what does it say? Remove the heads or the tails. Remove any pennies that have tails side up, and then you just do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And really, it's pretty cool. We're always over the top silly when we do stuff like this. We talk about special teams having some sort of special edge that is allowing them to keep like flipping pennies, so to speak. But everybody starts with 100. Okay, and we're going to call that trial 0, and that's, of course, for obvious reasons, that's going to be our y-intercept, right, if we're doing any graphing with this. And then we're going to dump the pennies out onto the workspace, remove any tails, and then record the number of pennies that remain, okay, where the input is the trial number and the output can be the number of heads. And this is a pretty cool thing. It is not bad to do in person, but it requires a little bit of creativity, okay, to do over the video, right? And it's not too bad, especially when we consider something called random.org. Now, random.org is an online calculator, and it is just super fun to play with. If you have the ability and the free time to just goof around with this, it's really, really fun to do. And you're going to see me do some pausing and some filling in, but we're going to do this first flip live together. And I can start here. I just go to random.org, and I go to games where it says coin flipper. And it's going to maybe do a check or two on your browser as well. I've definitely used it a lot, but I want to start with 100 coins, okay? I want to start with 100 coins. So I'm going to tell random.org's coin flipper to give me 100. And because we're talking about pennies, I'm going to scroll. We might as well make it a US penny, and I can just click flip. Now, this is the part where I'm going to have to pause, and then you're going to have to take my word for some of these, because look at all these. Heads, tails, tails, heads, heads, et cetera, right? And there's boatloads of them. You're going to have to take my word that I am going to do this counting, okay? And I will. And I'm going to write my answers in our table. So, trial 0, we started with 100. After flip 1, or trial 1, how many do we have left? I'm going to pause the video. I'll let you know in just a second. All right, folks, all the accounting has been done. I counted 51 pennies that had tails up. Remove them. 100 minus 51 leaves me with 49 pennies remaining. So we're going to go back to random.org. I'm going to scroll to the top. I'm going to go to games. I'm going to go to coin flipper. This time I am going to select not 100 coins, but you might know where I'm going. I'm going to select 49. I'm going to go back to pennies. And voila, I'm going to click flip coins, and there we have 50 coin flips. And I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to remove all the tails, and you're going to take my word for it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, did the exact same thing. Removed all the tails. How many remaining pennies did we have? We had 22, okay? One more time, I'm going to go back to coin flipper. I am then, after I get here, going to go to 22. I'm going to select the penny again, because why change things now? There we go, the penny. I click flip, and this one I can probably count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'll go back down here and I'll mark it up. We've got 12. Right, now I can key. You guys are going to see me do this every single time. Now I'm going to change this to 12. I'm going to change this to pennies, and I click flip, and how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are heads up, or 6 tails that were removed. All right, ladies and gents, there's my 6. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do this again. Games, coin flipper. Let's make this a 6. Turn this into pennies. Flip coins. Ta-da. 1, 2, 3. Holy cow. Right? Is anyone wondering anything yet? There's my 3. Okay. Games. Coin flipper. All right. Flip 3 pennies. Come on, pennies. There we go. Flip coins. Ta-da. And I got 2. 2 heads, 1 tail. I'll remove that 1 tail. There's my 2. I'm going to keep going. Are we going to... Whoops. Games, coin flipper. Flip 2 coins. Flip 2 pennies. Flip them. 1 penny. Now here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to run the risk of... And I wonder, you know what? Can I just click go back? This would have been smart. There we go. Flip 1 penny. Ta-da. Flip a coin. 1. Oh, I got no tails. I'm not removing it. Go back. Let's flip it again. Oh, I'm going to keep going. Right? For those of you who don't see this, I'm out of space now on my table. Let's give it another flip. Again. There we go. So we made it to our 10th and 11 flips. And we would have 1 and 0. So this is what our table would look like, okay? Is it possible that a team conducting this experiment might never remove their last penny? Of course it is, right? I could have flipped that coin forever and always gotten heads, meaning that I never would have removed the tail, okay? Would the results of this experiment have been significantly different if you removed the heads each time? I don't know. Would they? What do you think there? If I eliminated the heads or removed them, does that change things? I don't think so, right? Arbitrary assignment of heads and tails, right? Doesn't really matter, and so on and so forth, which side we're removing, okay? What if we started with 200 pennies? How would that have impacted my results? Well, I mean, if this number was 200, you're probably thinking already, I may have needed a longer table. Right? Because 11 flips maybe isn't enough. We probably would have needed a couple more spots in our table. A ton more? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that's something you can try on your own with random.org, right? Decide what our independent and dependent variables are for the pennies lab. Clearly label them and graph your data on your graph paper. Then carefully... on the resource page from your teacher. We're not going to be using the resource page. We are going to be using this e-tool that's in our book, and we are going to be graphing here. Now, I set this up already to do some graphing with us, and I just took a screen grab of Desmos. What you guys are going to do is you're going to wait for me while I just do this graphing. So one more time, I'm going to pause the video, and I will graph this in real time while you guys have some pause time. All right, so I went ahead and I took our data from our random.org penny flipper. You guys can see that I've got all my dots here, and the dots are reasonably forming this exponential decay style curve, and it does kind of flatten out or have some asymptotic behavior there toward the end, and that's a pretty noteworthy thing, something that we talked about last week, but we'll get a little bit more into that discussion here as we talk about this graph. But I did just make some dots, and I did kind of highlight the curve or the curvy shape, but I did not connect it, and I'll explain why here in just a second. Part A says include your team's data with that of other teams, and then examine the resulting scatter plot. Does the graph have any asymptotes? Should the graph be continuous or discrete? Well, the graph, it does. If it's a true exponential decay curve, it should have an asymptote. But asymptotes are imaginary, and our data is real world. And I think you guys can see here, I tried to do this out here at dot number 11, where we did in fact have 0 heads remaining because all the tails would then have gotten removed. So that kind of eliminates the need for our asymptote. And we have this situation here where theoretically we have an asymptote, but in real world, in actual, factual, tangible, number of heads remaining, we don't have the need for an asymptote because we do, in fact, intercept the x-axis right there. It asks, should my data be continuous or discrete? And that means, should I connect these or should I not? It's got to be discrete here because I do have a whole number of flips, and then a whole number of heads remaining. I can't connect it and imply that I have this rational value of flips or heads remaining. That doesn't make sense for a real world data in a scatter plot here. And then let me see. Part B says, is this situation increasing or decreasing? What does that mean about the multiplier? Well, clearly we've got a decay model here. We are decreasing. And what does that mean about our multiplier? That means our B value, our B is going to be less than 1, but it's going to be bigger than 0. Okay? And you might be able to recognize what the B value is probably pretty close to. Now, it's not going to be perfect because real-world data is rarely perfect, but what's our B value going to be pretty gosh darn close to? Well, it says, use what you know about the probability of flipping a fair coin. What's the probability of flipping a head and leaving it be, or flipping a tail and removing it? A question. Is that value a value in between 0 and 1? I think that's going to be a pretty nice feature for us. Then it says write an equation for an exponential function that models the data. And the key is going to be it models. It's not going to be perfect. Make sure you also write a let statement for our variables. Well, we can go ahead and we can write this y equals 100, because we started with 100 coins, times 1/2 to the x power. And I'm not going to write my let statement because I don't have a ton of room here, but I'm going to let x be the number of flips, my what's it called, my number of random.org flips, and I'm going to let y be the number of heads remaining that we have. Okay. What output does your function give for when x equals 0? Well, if I was to plug x in here, remember folks, this part right here, 1/2 to the 0 power, that turns into 1. And what does that give me? That gives me 100, because 100 times 1 is 100. And conveniently, holy cow, I'm going to go all the way back up here. That's exactly what we started there with trial number 0 or flip number 0. We started with 100 coins. Okay. Could there be an output value for x equals -1? And that's one of the things I'm going to throw to you. All right. It's kind of where we're going in the second day of this lesson or the next video. What does it mean when x equals -1? We kind of already hinted at it, but let me ask you this, right? Here's our graph. -1 is going to be somewhere out here. Ooh, that was a terrible straight line. Somewhere out here. Could my graph go this way? Could I have a dot out here? If so, where would it be? And what would that mean? Okay, what would that mean if I slipped out there to the left? Or maybe even did a little translation of my graph, okay? In the context of this situation, what could the domain of the model you wrote in part C be with the appropriate domain? What would a graph of your model look like? Well, as we discussed, this is discrete, so my domain is going to be all of the integers, and the graph is going to be those dots that represent those discrete values, okay? And finally, in part G, what family of functions that you saw in previous chapters has graphs like the one you made in part F? Okay, what are the first few values of this function? What is the equation? Well, folks, we saw those geometric sequences, right? And that's exactly what we got going on here. We've got a geometric sequence. It's setting up like it's an exponential model, and it's working really, really nicely for situations like this. Our multiplier is 1/2, right? It's not exactly like the rebound ratio problem, but it is, I mean, it's pretty similar. We've got a decay or a decreasing value as time or the trials move out there to the right. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 review preview problems here. You guys see them down here, 48, 50, 51, and 52. There's 4 of them. I'm asking you to try these things because sometimes we don't know what kind of questions we have until we start to take risks and try some of these things on our own. And that's, of course, what I'm asking you to do. This is only the first part of the section 7.1.4 lesson, so make sure you catch the second part. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Have a great day.